This is just going to be me talking, and hopefully it'll be something interesting for you guys. We're humbled to be part of this event. Thank you, Dr. Mo. Thank you, the entire organization from WBF, Josh, and the entire AV team for accommodating us on such late notice. How many of you know anything about advertising? Good, I'm going to test you. This is good. This is good. 33. Anybody? Well, don't tell me that you have bingo because we just started. But anybody knows maybe what the number 33 can mean in the world of advertising? No? 33 years ago, it's a little bit more than that, two companies came about and really created a different way of thinking about the internet. Because up until then, the internet was really between universities. And those two companies, America Online and CompuServe, were the first one to actually create an internet that was meant for all of us, consumers, people like you and me. It was really interesting, right, if you think about it. But at that time, there was no digital advertising. It was all about just access. And if you remember the modems, they kind of made a lot of noise. I'm sure you remember it a little bit. And then something else happened. In 1994, which is only 24 years ago, that's when really something changed about the web. Because at that time, some of you may remember a site called Hotwire. How many of you remember Hotwire? Oh, you're dating yourself. This is great. I know exactly how old you are. So you may remember seeing this. This was the very, very first banner online. It was done by AT&T, and it simply asks you a very simple question. Have you ever clicked your mouse right here? And to make it very clear to people, they actually put an arrow, and then they said, you will. Lo and behold, we all know where that ended, right? And that was only 24 years ago. For a lot of millennials here in the room who think that advertising and digital advertising started 5 to 10 years ago, I hate to tell you, but it's a little bit older than that. And we actually were the pioneers of it. So, ever since then, we had a lot of companies who came up and thrived and created businesses on top of that. A lot of publishers, a lot of retailers. Some of you may remember names that don't exist anymore, like Pets.com, right? Cosmo, if you were in New York, it was a delivery service. All ahead of their time. But it was interesting because even though a lot of companies went bust, there were many companies who actually survived. And those companies, since 1994, did something really interesting. They were sitting on mountains of data. All of those cookies that we leave behind online, all of that pixel tracking that was going on, it was leaving traces of data behind. People who were reading car reviews were bucketed into Car Intender. People who were looking at shoes were bucketed into fashionistas. And we started to really create behavioral targeting. And I think that some of you probably are familiar with I've seen this now for 30 days following me online. That's kind of behavioral targeting, but it started back then. The problem was that people didn't really know what to do with this data because we didn't have names associated with it. So it was all anonymous. And really, it was an intent to purchase, it wasn't actually purchases. But it was interesting at that time, nonetheless. And then 2007 happened. Anybody care to maybe try and figure out what was 2007? Why was it so special? You can yell it out.
Market crash.
The market didn't crash then. That was 2008. Come on. iPhone. June 2007. And why that date was so revolutionary is, I can tell you from my own experience, having been in the web for a long time, we were really browsing for, with an aim. We knew exactly what we were doing. It wasn't anymore like in '94 where you were just trying to figure out the web and you got lost for hours just trying out new sites, seeing if it was available. At that time we were going, I had to search something, I had to buy something, I'd move on. And then the iPhone came, and the iPhone made the mobile web come to life in full images, full color, full pages. It kind of rekindled our love with the web, at least for many of us. And from an advertising perspective, we now got something new. First we had cookies, now we had mobile IDs. Wow, what an innovation, right? And so, as 2007 continued, we got something new in 2010, the iPad. And it was interesting because even us who created those devices didn't really know what to do with those devices. We didn't know if it was a computer, if it was a laptop, if it was a mobile device that was slightly bigger. But funny enough, consumers, they always know best. And they figured out exactly their behavior. They knew exactly when to go to an iPad, and they knew exactly when to go to a mobile device, and afterwards a phablet. You know, people don't realize it here in this crowd, but cross-device targeting, meaning being able to understand if a person was on this mobile device, on this particular laptop, on that television, is only 6 years old. It's not that long ago that we started to figure out how to actually cross-correlate devices, and mind you, it's at best cross-correlated because it's not perfect data. But it enabled us to kind of understand from an advertising perspective how to reach a consumer on all of those devices. Interesting, right? I'm going to take you further back. Anybody care to know what 175 years actually mean? No market crash, by the way. Really? You guys are really awake here. I need some Starbucks. 175 years ago is when the advertising industry actually was formed in New York. It's still the capital of the world when it comes to advertising. 50 cents out of every dollar is coming out of New York for advertising. And agencies, and I was part of them at WPP, we were agents for brands. We were meant to understand all new technologies, even then. We were meant to understand audiences. We were meant to understand segmentation. Madison Avenue was king in knowing people. We knew exactly who bought soap. We knew exactly who bought laundry detergent. We knew exactly where to find you. We knew exactly what to communicate to you. And we knew exactly how to sell you soap. Very good at this. And then something new happened to us. We fell in love all over again in 1941. Because at that time, we got television. And the love affair started. I mean, let's be honest, who isn't in love with their TV, right? And it wasn't just consumers and viewers being in love with the TV. Brands fell in love with the TV because for the first time they were able to tell their story live and living color, right? Well, first it was black and white, but it went quickly to living color. 1941, the very first ad on TV. 1953, the very first color TV. 1972, the first time we were able to actually walk away from a program and still see it later, right? 1980, the first cable news network. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it happened. Some people call it fake news. I think it's real news. 1998, the very first DVD rental service that would bring it to your home. And then TiVo came along, and TiVo gave us the thumbs up, thumbs down. How many of you have TiVos in your home? Wow. Okay. 2007, besides the iPhone, we also got a rental service that moved over to streaming service. I don't know if you know, but Netflix today announced blockbuster earnings. So if you have shares in Netflix, I'm sure you're doing well. And they also have 91 Emmy nominations, which is quite incredible for a new company in that stage. So, content, appointment, devices. We had a new word, right? Binging. How many of you binge? I think most of you binge, right? Let's be honest. So, imagine a world where all of this comes together. Where now all of those devices come together, where all of that data comes together, and we can actually communicate with consumers. Sounds good? Maybe. Sounds freaky? Probably. Anybody knows about GDPR? Good, you should know about this, because even if you're a company that's not in the European Union, and I'm Dutch by the way, you have to apply this law to your business. Because if I'm a European going to your service, to your site, my data is my data. And if I want my data back, or if I want you to delete my data, you have to comply with that. Or else you're in violations, and then you get fined up to 4% of the annual revenue. That's 4% of your annual revenue. That will be your violation fine. Can you turn on the volume? Is the volume on? So what you're going to see is something interesting, because about a half a year ago when people talked about GDPR, when we were talking about it, most people said, that's not going to happen in the US, that's really European crap. All those Europeans and their data laws, never going to happen in the US. And this second I'm going to show you is from this past Friday, from the Democratic Senator Brian Schenck. And no audio. Should I try it again? All right, I'll try one more time. If not, I'll tell you what he's saying. In any case, that's okay. Don't worry about it, guys. We can just move on to the next one. So, what he's saying is that it's time, after the Facebook and Cambridge Analytica fallout, that the US will adapt GDPR-style laws. So something that was unthinkable 6 months ago is now widespread and bipartisan. And by the way, California is already working on an actual bill that they're going to pass in the legislation. So this GDPR thing, don't think it's just a far from my bed show thing. It's actually coming to our shores in New York. So what if we now do this slightly differently? What if we can reach the right people, right, with the right message, the right person, on the right time, on the right device, with consent? What if I actually had your consent to advertise to you? What a novel idea, right, to ask your permission. I know it seems crazy these times. So, it's here. We have it, we've announced it, and I'm happy to share with you what this is. Shopin is a universal shopper profile, and you've seen around this morning at the pitch talking about this, but what people often don't understand is this is not just about the blockchain. It's actually creating a universal new paradigm shift between advertisers and consumers. Because what happens is, and yes, you will be watching this hopefully with some gaze, is we're going to ask retailers who are part of the federation to ask people to join the Shopin profile. And those people will then, in essence, ingest all of their purchase data from the past 3 to 5 years. Those people then will own that data. Not Shopin, not the retailer, only you, the consumer, will own your data. And only you will get to say what's going to happen with this data. And at that particular point, when new retailers come into the federation, we'll ask them, hey, do you have this person there? And if the person exists in the database, their data will be downloaded to their blockchain as well. So on the blockchain. So nothing will be anymore with Shopin, nothing will be anymore with the retailer, it will be with you, the user. And the nice thing about that is that at that particular point, when you go to a retailer, you log into your Shopin profile, and at that point, the Shopin profile AI, Shopin AI will go into your profile, will look at your size, your style, your fit, all of the items that make who you are from your purchase behavior, and then we'll look at the inventory from the retailer and tell the retailer, instead of showing them 300 skinny jeans, only show them these 10 jeans that are this fit, this color, this style, and therefore creating a much better experience because you get the jeans you need. You don't have to browse for 300 jeans. And the retailer gets a much higher conversion, which we've proven out with Zegna and Bed Bath & Beyond. So the way it works, I'm sure you've seen this video before, we've shown it at our booth. Person goes into the Just For You page, logs on to their Shopin profile, can decide if they want to share what type of data with that particular retailer without the retailer seeing it. They will get only items that fit them at that particular point. If you don't like something, like this for example, you can exit out and the system will learn, the AI will learn, and will make every other retailer smart again. And at that particular point, you can select the jeans, you can buy the jeans when it happens, and then you'll see that the jeans will come in the right size and will happen to have a price that's specifically made for you. So the whole shopping experience will be different, and then you can check out with one-click shopping, with one-click checkout, no form filling, and you can get your items right there and then and get rewarded for it. But you know what's interesting about this is not about just that. It's also about advertising. Because instead of having to go to Google or Facebook or Naver and advertise with them to get new customers or to get customers to buy again, The retailer or the brand can actually ask permission from people who've raised their hands. I'd like to show you an ad. And if those people are open to it, if you're open to it, they'll actually see an ad. And when they see the ad in completion, they'll actually get rewarded for their time and attention with a Shopin token. And that token can be used immediately with the retailer to buy product. So the nice thing about this is 100% of that marketing investment goes back to the retailer. We don't take a cut from it. And so what you see here is a new paradigm shift when it comes to advertising that we feel is compliant with GDPR because you own your data. And instead of the leakage happening out to other companies like Facebook and Google, who then deal and wheel with your data, you can go directly to the user who gave you consent, and when they're ready to see your ad, they'll see the ad and they can actually transact with that ad. It's a very different way of thinking about data. It's a very different way of thinking about retail. And I hope that the journey I took you through, from the original banner 24 years ago, to the advertising agencies that knew everything about audiences, all the way through GDPR and what it means for us as consumers, is showing you a new way. We're currently in our last stage of the ICO. We've got 1.5 billion tokens. A third is obviously for the public sale. We've already raised $41 million. We've got $9 million left with special bonus structure for the Dubai conference, so please see us in the booth. And obviously, if you have any questions, we're on Telegram, on Shopin, everywhere. And I'll just put on my contact details so that you can directly message me. Here we go. It's Doron Wesly. Shukran for your time. It's a pleasure and honor to be here in Dubai in this very crypto-forward environment. Thank you very much.